Welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole.
And I'm Eric Stromer.
And did you know that 1 out of every 3 home Christmas tree fires are caused by electrical problems?
You know, I would have guessed that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because you plug in 55 things in one outlet, right? And you overwork one circuit. If you don't have efficient circuit breakers, guess what? Transfers to the cords, melts, breaks, drapes go on fire.
It's really scary.
Flaming Christmas tree.
Yeah. And regardless of whether it's artificial or a fresh cut. And so I want to talk about ways to make sure that your Christmas tree is safe and how to prevent these problems. And one of the things you want to do after you set up your tree, as you were just, you've got it in the tree stand, whether it's a fake one or a real one, is to check the lights and make sure that when they're plugged in, they shouldn't feel hot. Like the strands shouldn't feel hot.
Right.
That's a bad sign, isn't it?
Bad sign, yeah. It's overworking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
have you ever seen a cord go? It's kind of amazing.
Oh, by the way, this is Home Wizards.
And I'm Eric Stromer.
And I haven't seen a cord go. What happens?
Well, I used to remember this from Three Stooges episodes, and it was all in fun and stuff, right? And you'd see the cord just sort of start and burst in flames and then kind of trail down the cord. It actually does do that. Yeah.
Really?
I've seen it happen. It's crazy. So when they're overworked, overused, you've got too many things in one cord, that can potentially happen.
It's almost like Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
and it goes down like that.
Exactly, and that's it's the reason we have boxes for switches, because they contain all the spark with either metal or plastic, because there's always going to be sparking sometimes in those things.
You mean in the wall?
In the wall, so that prevents sparking from coming out and getting stuff on fire. Same holds with extension cords that are undersized. They're exposed, and the plastic sheathing is melts and then you're done.
So we didn't use an extension cord. We have a power strip. Do you like that? So
yes, if it has a little, a breaker in it, yeah, of course, that's perfect.
So
great.
we have a power strip that has a little bit of a length to it, and then we lit our tree. I think we have no more than 3 strands that are connected to each other.
You're totally over. You've done.
We're not overworking.
You're not at risk at all. No.
But I mean, I wouldn't go more than 3 or 4 strands connected to each other. That's not good.
It's not so much that. It's when they're all in one outlet coming out of an adapter, and then they can plug into themselves. You know what I mean? That's when it gets kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So if you separate them out on the strip, you're fine.
And even though they're low voltage, you'd think that sometimes I guess people, and especially you want to make sure that they are UL approved. Don't get those lights that are imported and may not be approved, because then you're going to run some extra risks. Don't you think?
Absolutely, you bet. Yeah, make sure they're UL. That's always the thing to look for, and better to get more cord, longer. Don't try and force it in when it's not the right length. It's better that it's the right length. And buy extra if you have to. Anything outdoors, obviously. The green cords that are made for the Christmas season, the holiday season.
For the outdoor lights?
For the outdoor lighting, go for that. Get the big, beefy outdoor cords. You don't want the lamp cord size outside.
Because, they're water resistant, right?
Exactly. And they're going to have a thicker sheath. More voltage can go through them, and they can handle more, and they're protected from the elements.
Another way to prevent a Christmas tree fire is to make sure that whether it's fresh cut or artificial, is that it's not close to a heating source. I mean, not only is it going to dry it out, because as we were setting up our tree, you're standing on a little ladder, and I realized that the heat was coming out of the vent, and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is too close, because this is going to not only dry out the tree, but then, then it also exposes you to a risk, right?
Sure. If you're right at the heating vent and you don't want to move the tree, then you can just put a piece of plastic over the vent.
Can you shut it up?
Or you can close it. Some vents don't have the closing ability, so just tape a piece of plastic up there. It's only for 1 month a year. It won't be so noticeable unless you use like bright red tape. But maybe that'd be better, because it would be red and it'd be like, you can say, look, it's like Christmas. It's a decoration.
It's part of the setup.
And also, beware of the window with the direct sun. If you're going to have it there because there's no other place, then keep the drapes closed during the day, and then at night you can open them up. But the more you can prevent it from drying out rapidly over these next couple of weeks, the better. That's when you get into trouble. 100% wet tree is never going to burn, but something around the 10% when they get toward the end of the season, literally like a matchstick. So you got to be real careful.
Another thing is I always turn my tree off when I'm not in the room. My thing now is I love to get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee with the Christmas tree lights on.
Sure.
But I just make it a rule to turn it off the minute that I leave the room. It's in this family room area. I don't even want to have it on when I'm in like the home office or the other end of the house. I just don't want to risk it.
Well, if you have a power strip, that's another great aspect to having one, because there's one switch with all your lights in one, and then you can just hit that little toggle on off. Very, very simple. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. You could leave them on if you wanted.
Just a little bit. Don't leave them on when you go to sleep, though. I think
wouldn't.
bedtime is really bedtime means lights off. Don't forget to turn your Christmas tree off.
Yeah, you could also do a little timer if you wanted. They're about $30, and you can plug it into the outlet and then plug the power strip into that. Set it to go on and off at the hours you desire. Maybe turn it off at 1 in the morning, but you don't want to turn it off too early because Santa won't be able to see and get his cookie.
I forgot about that.
I know.
That would be terrible.
I know it would.
You want Rudolph to be able to find your
I know
your
you
house.
do. Yeah.
And when your tree begins to drop its needles, if you do have a fresh cut one, then it means that it's even more of a fire risk. So, your tree better not be dropping leaves right now or dropping needles. It's too soon.
Sure.
But
there's going to be a little droppage as you bring it in. There's always some that comes out, but right now you should be pretty good, especially with your new tip with the margarita mix. I love it.
If you missed it, we're talking about, if you do get a fresh cut tree, let's say this weekend you're doing that, or in the coming days, because gosh, it is countdown to Christmas time. We've learned that adding a little bit of sweet and a little bit of citrus will force the tree trunk to absorb more of the moisture. It just sucks it up faster.
Right.
And by the way, you should water your tree every day. So I'm using a shaker full of water, and I just take that and I put it in the base of the tree. Lie down on my tummy, and I get down in there and I put it in. And it's every day I'm putting that in there with a little bit of half a cup of
Good
margarita
for you.
mix.
That's great. And then I do the hose that I bring in from outside, and I have my kid outside, and I scream, "Turn it on!" And then I put it in there, and then I go, "Turn it off!" And most of the time, it's turned off in time.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, it works pretty good.
It's a nice little shower while you're there,
yeah,
too.
Exactly. You know what else is interesting? Most of the fires occur with the candles that are unattended.
I know.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's the thing. And I was a little overwhelmed. A couple of days ago, Willow said, I've got my daughter who's 7. I've just lit the candle in the bedroom. I'm like, oh my! And I ran upstairs, and she left the thing unattended.
What kind of candle?
Just a little beeswax candle, right? And it's I had to kind of go like, listen, you can't do this.
How did she light it?
They light candles at school as a sort of a ritual of the end of the day.
Like with one of those big lighter, those like wands?
Yeah, she had a little wand lighter,
thing.
the same one I used to light the fire and stuff like that. So she got a hold of that, and she's responsible, but who the heck knows?
Sure.
Especially if it's too close to a curtain. That's where you get into trouble. Things getting too close to candles is where 56% of the fires over the holidays come from candles that have caught something caught fire from.
Yeah. And
careful.
speaking of candles, I was sharing with you that I was lighting these votives that have the little metal rings around them. You buy them by the bag, and you kind of get this, you kind of lulled into a sense of safety because you go, oh, well, there's that metal, and that's going to make it safe. I can leave the room. Well, a good thing for me is that I was just home again, doing my thing, but wanted to have candles lit because it was relaxing. And as I watched this single votive that's about, a half-inch tall, the standard votive with the silver metal thing around it, and out of the blue, the flame went up and to the right and started to almost torch itself. It kind of caught on fire. It set more of the wax on fire than normal, and it could have been a fire.
Sure.
So don't even leave votives alone. Don't leave the room lit with anything.
I'm in the summer months. I'm always a little concerned about those luminarias. They're basically paper bags with fire in them.
Yeah,
that seems
right.
crazy,
Yeah,
but they've been doing it forever in the
I know
Mexican country.
Another good idea, by the way, if you choose an artificial tree, make sure it's identified by the manufacturer as fire retardant. Really, really important, right?
Right.
And then if you're buying a fresh cut tree, remember, if you're going to the tree lots, make sure that yours hasn't been sitting out in the sunshine. Try to pick from a lot that has a covering, and hope maybe they even are so tender loving care to their as tree keepers that they're even watering them or they're in water stands, because then you're going to increase the odds that your tree won't dry out and catch on fire.
That's exactly right. Most of the time these parking lots become Christmas tree lots during the off season or during the high season, obviously, and they're out on a blacktop, sun's hitting them. If they're not covered, they dry out. They're basically just bundled and they're sitting there. And sometimes people will water them, but usually they don't have a water source.
No, it needs to be in the trunk. It's terrible. And remember, too, when you're looking at your lights, replace any string of lights that have worn, like in addition to broken cords and broken bulbs, right?
Absolutely.
And then every now and then, as the days go by, not only are you watering your fresh cut tree every day, but just kind of periodically check the wires and make sure that they aren't warm to touch.
Yeah, you just wrap your hand around each strand, and for a second you'll be able to tell if they're hot or not. And if they are, get them out.
Mm-hmm.
Get new ones.
And by the way, always make sure that you never decorate your tree with lit candles. That was like the olds. Can you believe that was what people did years and years ago? But not a good idea.
No,
I mean, it
bad news.
sounds magical.
Looks beautiful. I can't imagine. But
I know.
Boy,
Well, when we come back, we have some more fun things to help you get ready for the holidays. For instance, what if there is a gardener on your shopping list? We got some great ideas to give that certain someone a gift.
Great idea.
All right. Eric Stormer, Cindy Dole, you're listening to Home Wizards.
When I was young, every Christmas Eve I could not sleep, trying to catch that old Saint Nick leaving presents under my tree. And every year